Okay, so you did the 3 drawits. How did it go? For number 1, you should have ended up with y equals 5x minus 7 because we knew that the slope was 5 and the b was negative 7. For number 2, the m was negative 1/3 and the b was 0. So when I plug it in, it would look like this. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 0. I just want you to be aware that you may end up with problems like this on a test where instead of saying plus 0, they simplify it to y equals negative 1/3 x. They leave off the plus 0 because when we add 0, it doesn't add any value. Finally, on the last one, they said that m is negative 1 and b was positive 2. So you should have gotten y equals negative 1x plus 2. Again, you may see this on a test where they write y equals negative x plus 2, and that 1 that was there is just understood to be there. So that's how we find or write an equation of a line given the m and the b, or given the slope and the intercept. What happens if they give us the graph instead? Well, remember that when we have a graph, we usually can identify the slope and the y-intercept. If I know my m, what my m equals, and if I know what my b equals, then I can write my equation just by substituting those pieces in, just like before. So we're going to substitute m and b. Let's go about finding it. I always find the y-intercept first, the b first, because I want to know where does it cross the y-axis. In this case, it crosses the y-axis at 3. From there, I'm going to find my slope by looking for the next place that the line crosses in the corner of the grid. In this case, it's here. So we're going to make our triangle. Slope is always the change in y, so the up and the down first, and then the left to right. If it goes up, it's going to be positive. If it goes down, it's negative. In this case, we're going down 1, 2, 3. Down 3 means that my numerator, or my top number, is negative 3. And then it goes over 1, 2, which means 2 is going to be my denominator. So now that I have my m and my b, I can substitute in. We got negative 3/2, or negative 3 over 2x. And we're going to put plus 3 because it was a positive 3. When I look at number 2, we're again going to see that it's a diagonal line. Diagonal line means that our equation is going to have a y and an x in it. So we just need to see what goes between the equal sign and the x, excuse me, and after the x. So I start with my b. Where does it cross the y-axis? Well, here's the y-axis, and it crosses right here at negative 3. So that's going to be my b. We're going to travel along the blue line until I see a point where the line crosses the grid. So that happens here. It happens here again, and then here, and then here again. So we can pick anywhere to start from. I could say I'm going to go up here and over here, and I'm going to count the number up. So top number is going to be 2, and I went over 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. I want you to realize that if you have a slope that's over 1, it can be a whole number. So I'm going to write it over here because I ran out of room. M can equal positive 2, and we don't need to include that over 1. So when I go to write my equation, 2 goes in for m, and b was negative 3. So my final equation is y equals 2x minus 3. Example 3 and 4 are going to be a little different because you're going to notice the line only crosses one of the axes. When I look at example 3, what axis does that red line cross? Does it cross the x-axis or the y-axis? You're right, it crosses the y-axis. In fact, it crosses the y-axis right here. Since it only crosses the y-axis, our equation is going to start as y equals. There's not going to be an x because it doesn't cross the x-axis. All you're going to find out is where does it cross the y-axis? It crosses at 3. So your equation is going to be y equals 3. If I look at example 4, this only crosses one of the axes. I'm going to ask you, which axis does it cross? Does it cross the x-axis or the y-axis? You're right, it crosses the x-axis. So that means our equation is only going to have x in it. And you're going to tell me where it crosses the x-axis. Underneath there, you can't see it, but it's a 3. So it crosses at 3, so our equation is x equals 3. So now I want you to take the time and try the draw-its.